Hey everyone, welcome into the Flippin' Hippos YouTube channel. I'm Star. Thanks for joining me today. If you're new to the channel or you haven't already, please consider subscribing and helping us feed a hungry hippo. And don't forget to hit the thumbs up as you're listening. It does help us out a lot. I would also like to put in a small plug for our Facebook group. It is called Flippin' Hippos Reseller Pod. Join us over there for discussions about reselling, different platforms, cross-posting, List Perfectly, Plush, jeans, antiques, you name it. We have a very varied group of resellers in there, and it's a pretty positive atmosphere to be in. There's a link in the description box, or you can just search for us on Facebook. Flippin' Hippos Reseller Pod. I'm off to a great start. I'm already flubbing up my words, but we're just going to keep plugging on. You guys that are familiar with the channel know I don't edit unless I have to. Keeping it real at the amateur hour here on Flippin' Hippos. Today we're going to be doing a comparison of Poshmark and eBay. And if this is something that you guys like as you're watching it or would like to see other platforms compared, let me know in the comments. If there's interest, I will do further videos of eBay versus Mercari versus Poshmark. I'm just going to do a real basic overview. We're going to look at the fees and the return policies, the ease of listing one versus the other. We'll hit a little bit on the social aspect and the sharing and just talk a little bit more about the differences in the platforms. So if you enjoy it and would like to see more different platforms, let me know. I'm going to share my screen with you though, because I feel like as I go over these things with you, I want you to look at what I'm looking at too. All right, there we go. We're going to start with fees. Okay, let's start with Poshmark fees because they're very simple. They're very simple and straightforward, as even Poshmark will tell you on their page. If you sell an item on Poshmark that sells for under $15, there's a flat commission of $2.95. And you keep the rest. End of story. For sales of $15 or more, you keep 80%, so the fees are 20%. So on a $20 sale, you would keep $16. But on a $15 sale, you're going to keep right around $12. And that's it. You don't have to worry about shipping, fees on that, how much you're going to get from that, or any of it. Poshmark is very easy to figure out. And that's what they say down here. We at Poshmark like simplicity. There's no nickel and diming. They handle the financial transaction, including the credit card fees, provide you with a prepaid, pre-addressed shipping label, and serve as the customer support team. So there's none of that to worry about. It's $2.95 if it's under $15, 20% if it's over. There's no other fees or any of that. eBay, you guys, is really convoluted. Look at this. So there's 3 types of fees on eBay. You have a store subscription fee if you have a store subscription. And then you have your listing fee or insertion fee. So if you do not pay for a store subscription or you surpass the amount of listings that are free included in your store subscription each month, there's then an insertion fee for each listing. And then you have your final value fees, which are the fees on your final sale. And those fees are on the total price of the item, including shipping. But why do they charge fees on shipping? That's not fair. You hear that all the time. Here's why. Back in the day, this is lore. This is a fabled tale. No. Once upon a time, eBay did not charge fees on shipping. And so people were being very creative around not paying fees. So if they had, let's say, a $100 item, they would put it up for $5 and charge $95 in shipping and only pay the fees on the $5. So unfortunately, because of a few bad eggs, now eBay takes the total sold price, including shipping, and that's what you're paying your fees on. So you have a store subscription fee, and those can vary. You have insertion fees, and then you have your final value fees. But even your final value fees can vary and be different, which is why I feel like eBay's pricing system is so convoluted and just difficult for new sellers to grasp. This is their page of selling fees. So they say they have two main types of selling fees, an insertion fee and a final value fee, which is true, but I always include the store subscription fees when I talk about their fees. And let's not forget, if you're promoting items as well, you have another fee on top of that. The amount they charge depends on the item's price, the format and category you choose for your listing, any optional listing upgrade you add. Oh yeah, that's right. You can pay more for a bigger title. You can pay more for this and that. You also, your seller conduct and your performance come in. So top rated sellers pay less fees than new sellers. I'm glad they have a whole page on this. And in fact, I will link this in the box below because this is just, okay. So every month you get up to 250 zero insertion fee listings, but you can get more than that if you're paying for an eBay store. After you've used up your 250 or whatever comes with your store, you have to pay per listing. Okay. Then you have your final value fees. The fee is calculated as a percentage of the total amount of the sale plus 30 cents. So you have your final value fee, then they're adding in 30 cents for the payment processing. The total amount of the sale does include item handling, shipping, sales tax, and any other applicable fees. And then here is the table below for the final value fee percentage, and then you always add 30 cents in. So most categories are 12.9%, below 7,500, books and magazines. So they've got all their categories here with the percentage over here of what your final value fee is going to be. But remember, that can be different based on your performance, right? We got real estate listings, upgrades. So here's your optional upgrades: 1 to 3 durations, $1, bold font, $2, gallery plus. I mean, there's all kinds of other things you can do here to try to make your listing stand out, but you're paying for it. You're paying for that. So here's all those prices, and then additional final value fees. If they find out that you're violating any policy of buying or selling outside of eBay, they can issue additional fees. If you're not meeting your performance expectations, they can issue additional fees. There's an international fee. This is just, it's a lot. Whenever I'm just like roughly figuring out profits and fees on eBay, like you'll see me talk about it on the channel, I usually subtract 15%, give or take, off of the sale. So if I'm figuring if I want to buy something at the thrift, let me come back big. If I'm at the thrift and I'm like, do I want to pay $3 for a pair of jeans that's going to sell for $30? And I want to do quick math in my head, I just take 15% off of the $30. I know $4.50 roughly are in fees. Usually it's a little bit less. Sometimes it's a little bit more. But that's how I do it real quick in my head. Of course, you have to get the exact number when you go to do your books, your accounting, and when you go to file taxes. But a general rounding up real quick, if you're trying to figure out if something's worth the cost of goods, or you want to figure out if you want to buy something, but you could see that the fees on eBay are just, there's different fees for every store that you can have as well, depending on what you're listing, your performance, all of that can play into how much your fee is going to be at the end of the day. And it's not as simple as, 20% off the top like Poshmark. So the fees can be a lot different. There is a whole camp of people that think Poshmark's 20% is too much. I don't think so. If you add in what you're paying for your store subscription, your final value fees, and any promoted fees that you're paying on eBay, that 20% off the top is nothing, really. In fact, eBay can almost come out more sometimes if you're paying, if you figure out your store subscription fee and with your final value fees and your promoted fees and all that. 20% really isn't that much, especially for something that's so streamlined and easy to understand. I don't think 20% is too much. Poshmark, I feel, is a lot easier to list on, and we're going to touch on that too. So those are your fees. 20% or $2.95 if it's under $15, or it can be anything from 12% plus 30 cents all the way up to there's 3% on some stuff, 15% on jewelry and watches, plus the 30 cents. Then you got your store fee, and you got, if you want to promote items. So 20% I don't think is too much. Okay, so the return policies. I'm going to share my screen again. Poshmark's return policy is that all sales are final, period. There's always the exception and the asterisk there of course, if you send them the wrong item, if the item doesn't match the description, then a buyer can open a return. But they only have 3 days. Okay. So remember, on eBay, they have 30 days to open a return. Poshmark, if 3 days goes after delivery and they have a problem, too bad for them. And I kind of don't feel like that's harsh. I really don't like that buyers on eBay get 30 days to decide if they want something, meaning they can rent items from you. They could get a book or a movie, watch it, read it, return it. They could get a costume, wear it for Halloween, and return it. Now, not all buyers are turds. You guys, I'm not saying that all of humanity is awful, horrible, evil people, but a lot of people are. And when you have things in place like, you have to go get your mail, open the item, check it within 3 days, and see if it's what you wanted, you're discouraging the bad people from doing the bad things. So they have 3 days. If something's wrong with it, absolutely they can open a case on Poshmark. But they can only open that for wrong item or not described. Fit issues, no longer want, delayed delivery, all of that on Poshmark is not a reason for return. And I will tell you that if you take good photos and do great detailed descriptions in your listings, most times Poshmark is going to side with you, or what they'll do is they'll refund the buyer at no cost to you so that everybody's happy. So that's just kind of like pleasing both sides, but I would rather that than the way eBay handles some things. So if you have a buyer that says, well, these are too short and you didn't say that they were petite, and the case, and then you can put a picture of your original listing into the case and say, I absolutely put size 8P in the title, and I wrote petite in the listing, and I had the measurements in the listing, and you can prove that you had a good listing that the buyer just didn't read, then Poshmark will side with you. So keep your stuff tight, guys. Write really good titles, write good descriptions, take good photos, include all of the details you need to include. And most times on Poshmark, they're going to side with you. And if they don't, they'll just refund the buyer and kind of like appease both sides. They will absolutely side with the buyer if it's clear that they sent something different. And there are dishonest people who may order something from you and take a picture of something else and show it. There's really no way around that on any platform. Dishonest people are going to be dishonest, and they're going to do whatever they have to do to get things for free or return things that they don't want when they have buyer's remorse. That's just unfortunate. But fortunately, on the Poshmark platform, a lot of the reasons folks return stuff on eBay is not viable or not a reason for a return. On eBay, it says that you can choose whether to accept returns if the buyer changes their mind. I'm here to tell you this, and let me look right at you when I say this. On eBay, there is no such thing as a seller that doesn't take returns. You can say that you don't take returns all you want. You can put no returns on all of your listings, and a buyer who is determined to return an item to get their money back will do whatever it takes. You're better off offering returns so that you don't end up with a whole bunch of item not described cases against you. On eBay, once you get so many item not described against you, and that, again, that just depends on the category you're selling in, but it can bring down your percentage. It can take away your top rated seller status. It can cause you to end up paying more final value fees at the end. It can be detrimental to your account to have too many item not as described. And unfortunately, again, not all people in the world are bad, but there are bad people. And if you say you don't accept returns, and Joe Schmo bought a shirt that doesn't fit and he really wants his $40 back because his shirt doesn't fit and he sees that you don't take returns, he'll open an item not as described and lie. I have seen buyers literally destroy items. They'll rip buttons off, whatever they got to do. They will do whatever they have to do to open any kind of return case, such as item not as described, item arrived damaged, item doesn't work. They will do whatever they have to do to get a return. Not all buyers. I'm saying the bad ones, the bad eggs in the basket. So I always tell people, I personally just think you're better off offering returns. That way, the honest people will remain honest, and the people who are dishonest will be more likely to be honest. If the same Joe Schmo wants to return his $40 shirt and you accept returns, he'll just open a case for doesn't fit. And at the end of the day, that's that. The only other issue you may run into there is if you have buyer pay returns, you're still going to have buyers that do dishonest things to try to get a free return. But having free returns on is a whole nother discussion for a different day. It's a personal choice. It depends on your business model. It depends on what you sell. Depends on your overhead. But just keep in mind that even having returns on won't always protect you because there's still dishonest people. Hey, I bought this $40 shirt. It doesn't fit me. Look, I can return it, but I'm not paying $5 to return it. So it just, keep that in mind. Returns are like this whole different monster, which is why I like Poshmark's return policy. All sales are final unless I sent you the wrong thing. And I also have found that on Poshmark, I feel like there are less folks that are willing to go that extra mile to do the dishonest things to get a return than there is on eBay. And I just think that's the target audience of each platform. eBay buyers have almost been trained and brought up for years by the platform itself to know that the buyer is always right. The buyer always gets what they want. Buyer gets away with everything. So they'll act that way because that's how they were taught to act. Poshmark is more of a clientele that's on a platform where they know all sales are final. So they have less of that mentality. eBay buyers, unfortunately, can sometimes be monsters, but they're monsters that eBay themselves created. And some sellers create the monsters too. And that, again, is a whole other topic. But the sellers that do I'll just give you your money back and you don't have to return the item. Well, gee, you've just created 15 new types of monsters who now know I'm going to order something. I like it. I'm going to keep it and wear it, but I'm going to lie about it and try to get my money back so that I can keep it and get my money. So there's just it's like this whole ecosystem of different kinds of buyers, especially when it comes to returns and the dishonest buyers that do the dishonest things. So I feel like I like the return policy better on Poshmark. I also like the fee system better because I feel like it's not as convoluted. It's not the amount of the fee. I know, again, let me touch upon it one more time. Some folks do say 20% is too much. Whether that is the case or not, it's not convoluted. It's simple. It's straightforward. It's easy to understand. I don't have to figure out what I'm selling and all of that stuff. So far, 2 points to Poshmark. But eBay does have a global platform. It has more users on it. It has more buyers on it. It has more eyeballs. More folks know about eBay. eBay's mentioned in pop culture. Weird Al did a song about eBay, I've heard it mentioned on Friends and other TV shows and movies. Everyone knows what eBay is. Everybody shops on eBay. It's global. There's tons of eyes on it. You do have the ability to run sales and do different things on the platform that you don't on Poshmark. You can run sales, but Poshmark has bundles. But with eBay, when you run a sale, when you set a sale up, a buyer looks at a listing and it says $29.99 with that red line through it, and then 20% off, and then $24.99 or whatever. On Poshmark, they can like stuff and you can bundle it together and send them an offer. You can also create, let me show you. Let me pull up my closet. and show you. You can create little signs, and I'm really bad about keeping mine up front, like really bad. My closet's also sharing right now over here in the background. So here we go. You can create little signs like this using Canva, which is free. You can use InstaShot on your phone to create a photo, which is also free. They have paid versions, obviously. But you can create little signs like this to put in your Poshmark closet. You just have to remember to share them last at the end of sharing your closet so that they're up the top at the front. And you can advertise this and just hope folks see it. But that is a way to run sales in Poshmark. You can't have a markdown sale like you can on eBay where it has the strike through and the lower price. But you can do things like that. Both platforms have the ability to send offers to buyers. And Poshmark has the bundling offer, but you can offer on eBay. It's not necessarily as streamlined as adding a bunch of things to a bundle and sending the offer to the buyer, but you can work with buyers and give them a bigger discount for the more they buy. I do like the category system on eBay, where you can set up your store to have categories for folks to look through. I do like the sales. I like having markdown sales. Buy two, get one, and you don't really have to do anything with it. The buyer just shops. You set up the sale, they shop. Poshmark, you kind of have to fiddle fart around and make your signs and do the bundles and all of that. As far as listing, I feel like Poshmark is so much more simplified, so much more. Even with eBay's classic listing tool that we just lost last week, may you rest in peace. I loved you, listing tool, classic listing tool. I loved you. I cannot stand this new one. I'm not even going to get into that on here because we'll be here all day. But whether it was with the classic eBay tool or the new listing tool, Poshmark is very streamlined, very easy to list, less clicks, less fiddle farting around, just boom, 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 boom. As far as like a SKU line to put, your location, the item, or any notes for yourself, both platforms have that. I just feel like Poshmark is much easier to list on. So let's talk about, we talked about offers. Both of them have that. The promoted listings on eBay. So if you want to get a jump on other competitors or give your items a boost on eBay, you have to set up promoted listings. And then you're paying an extra percentage at the end on the sale if they click that promoted listing. So if you promoted everything in your closet and someone clicked on a listing and purchased it, but it wasn't the promoted listing advertisement or whatever that comes up on their app, you don't pay the promoted. So when you have promoted listings, you have normal listings that show up and promoted listings that show up in a search when a buyer is shopping. Depending on which one they click on is whether or not you pay that promoted listing fee. On Poshmark, they don't have promoted listings. And actually, if you want to get a boost, you just share. So that's free. It takes time, yes. But guess what? Poshmark now has bulk bulk sharing. You see my closet right now in the background here is sharing. It's going and going and going. You go to your closet at the top right here next to about, there's a wrench. Share to followers. Oh, it's not going to let me because I'm already sharing. But you just click that, and then you will click a box up here to check all, and you can just scroll down and select everything. You want to usually double check available items first, okay? And then that will allow you to share just the available items in your closet. And that's basically how you promote on Poshmark for free. You can just go in and share your closet a couple times a day. It's easy to do it in bulk. You can see I have it running in the background while I'm recording a video. You don't really have to babysit it. Once in a while, it will ask you if you're not a robot. You just tell it. If you want that extra boost on eBay, you got to go set up your promoteds and pay an extra fee at the end. So there's that. The other thing I want to touch on, so the sharing and the social aspect, a lot of people don't like on Poshmark. You can participate that in as little or as much as you want to, honestly. You will probably see more sales if you're participating in the social aspect. If you're sharing your closet more often, you will see more sales. But I do know a lot of resellers, and we used to be one of them, that use Poshmark as a set it and forget it platform. You can list on there and walk away and never do anything, and you'll still get a couple of sales here and there. You won't get as much, but you don't always have to be all the way in either. So if you can find a happy middle ground where you're sharing your closet a few times a day, you don't have to go to the parties and do all the social stuff. So, I mean, it's not hard to set up your closet to share itself in bulk in the background while you're doing other stuff. So I don't see any reason why sharing is a big deal anymore. It used to be, because you used to have to click each listing one by one by one to share them. And that was a really big pain in the butt if you had a lot of listings. But now that it's bulk, I don't really think it's a big deal. And the overall pricing is the last thing I want to touch on. I feel like people on Poshmark are a different target audience. They are willing to pay up for items. They are willing to pay a higher price tag. A lot of times they're looking for more trendy or luxury items. And they are also used to paying the shipping costs. So they're just willing to spend more money all around. Posh in itself, that word, typically means luxury or expensive. eBay sometimes does get referred to as like a garage sale online. And yeah, buyers on there expect more of a deal. They expect prices to be lower. They're more likely to lowball you or not want to pay what you're asking for items. Also, the race to the bottom, that chasing that fast nickel, and other sellers undercutting and just destroying whole markets and the value of items happens a lot more on eBay. It's really prevalent there. Not so much on Poshmark. Occasionally, you'll see things on Poshmark that are priced way below what they're worth, but I don't think that's sellers racing to the bottom. I think that a lot of times lay people who aren't resellers, like college kids or maybe moms cleaning out their kids' closet, will list stuff on Poshmark just to get rid of it. And they don't know all the ins and outs of reselling and the nuances and how to comp stuff. But I do feel like you can price items higher on Poshmark. You can get more money over there. There's not the expectation over there of having, garage sale prices or lowballing or any of that. So to sum up, eBay versus Posh, or not versus, but a comparison of the two. eBay fees at times can be lower or higher than Poshmark. It's very convoluted. Their fee system is just a whole hullabaloo of if this, then that, and if this, then that, and if that, then this. Poshmark, super easy to figure out. $2.95 if it's under 15, 20% on sales higher than that. All sales are final on Poshmark, no returns. The returns on eBay can or cannot be accepted. You can turn off your returns on eBay, but people will still return stuff. I assure you of that. It's easier to list on Poshmark. There's a lot less clicking and filling in of items, specifics. I also feel like when you cross post, it's easier on Poshmark. Offers are on both platforms. You can bundle on Poshmark. You can run sales on eBay, but you can't on Poshmark. Promoted listings are available on eBay, but you pay a fee for that. You can simply share your closet on Poshmark and get like a free boost. And the overall pricing, I feel like you can get more money for items on Poshmark than you can on eBay. So if you have any more questions, comments, concerns about eBay, Poshmark, cross-posting, reselling in general, leave them in the comments. Go be productive. Go make some money. And as always, thank you so much for watching. Y'all are the best. Bye.